our team does, is people want to be at the front door. They don't want to have to drive very far, and they'll drive around the block waiting for it. But you go to other places and they'll walk farther, and so they've done studies, and they'll walk farther if it's not the distance you walk, but it's what's going on in the distance. So people, if they feel there's an active street life and they can cross these and so forth, they'll park farther away, and your kind of the parking zone spreads out if you've got activities. And Charlotte, North Carolina did some studies. They had a lot of vacant lots and felt people didn't want to walk by vacant lots, and so they would cluster the parking. They started looking at ways to make those vacant lots more. Young professionals we're trying to look for a plan for the future and taking their comments into consideration. And when we asked them what would they like to see, they said some of the same things as you. Look, retail, outdoor dining. They also said bike facilities. So that's something that they said it's just not a very bike-friendly way. When we've talked to students at University of Findlay, they say, yeah, we don't really go downtown. It'd be great if we could bike to downtown. And if they had bike parking, we felt we were being accommodated by downtown. Better parking, same as you, a little bit farther down on the list, but also important. And then activity, entertainment. That's why I think the Performing Arts Center is a real asset too, to bring them down. Here in Findlay, it's one of the few cases I'd say there is a shortage of parking. Because on Main Street, the parking is very heavily used. I think in some cases we could probably make better use of parking by managing it better and enforcing turnover and doing some other things. Not getting into meters, but there are things you can do to more politely have turnover. Look at employee parking, we'll talk about that in a minute. So parking is important, we know, and we focused on parking. We have a pretty high crash rate or accident rate. I'll show you the charts of that in a minute. Speeds on Main Street, especially in those non-peak hours, are higher than is really appropriate in the downtown. So cars are going pretty fast. And so in addition to the difficulty of crossing the street, it's pretty intimidating the way people are kind of driving the street, especially in the evening when you're out there for dining, like it's a highway. Driving very fast on Main Street. Not just a few people, because sometimes they come outliers, just a few people driving fast. People are driving pretty fast, so that's contributing to the high crash. And the idea of for the transportation part of the downtown plan was we make sure that the transportation system supports a viable, vibrant downtown, focusing on a lot of things you guys said, convenient parking, focusing on safety for pedestrians and bicyclists and people in the cars, motorists. We want to make sure that we still have efficient traffic flow, that it's not a bottleneck traffic. So a key part of this is reverse angle parking. So when we met with the stakeholders, they said, like you, one of the things was convenient parking and so forth. What is a way we can add parking? And our committee said, can we do angled parking? And we said, well, ODOT probably won't allow angled parking. Most DOTs don't allow angled parking. And the reason is angled parking really increases crashes. Because people can get in easy, but when they back out, they can't see and they take chances, and you have a lot of collisions. And we already have a lot of collisions in Findlay for parking. The other thing with the reverse angle, we make the spaces probably 9.5 feet wide, because people with bigger vehicles here tend not to park real cleanly. Like the Marathon lot, those spaces are only 8 feet wide. We'd probably look at these to be 9.5 feet wide, so people have a little bit of maneuvering room. We've also talked about maybe having a trial of the reverse angle parking on a side street so people get used to it before on Main Street. There are some places where reverse angle parking probably isn't a good idea. When we get down to some of the intersections, we probably want to keep some right turn lanes to keep traffic flowing, like that between Crawford and Sandusky, where we'd have a through lane and then a right turn lane. And so near the corners, we would still have parallel parking, so we're not having conflicts with people maneuvering around some of the intersections.
Add to that, another point of confusion has been when that rendering was in the newspaper and even the rendering that was here showing the median, you can kind of almost suggest to yourself that that median is continuous, and it's not. That becomes the turn lane at the key points, and so you'll see an image here later that kind of shows that, because I think that's important to keep in mind. That's not a continuous median through all of Main Street.
Right. So the median would be at the entrance points up north of the river and by probably south of Lincoln, and then where we would not have a median where we have left turn backups right now to make a left turn. So we kind of designed it so we'd avoid that. And again, if it was a flush median, all of it or some of it, then we wouldn't have that problem.